Hello and welcome to Inside Out Northwest with me, Diane Oxbury.
Tonight, racing's most successful jockey, AP McCoy, says he could have been a better jockey with a longer career if he'd sought help earlier to curb the extreme dieting that's common in racing.
I was having hot baths and running with sweatsuits on and saunas and probably everything you shouldn't do I was probably doing.
As mountain rescue teams in the Lake District tackle the highest number of incidents since records began, we learn the skills to stay alive.
There is a risk. 2 weeks ago there was a quite significant avalanche, 4 of them in a gully. They were just literally bang and taken down.
And we meet the Liverpool pupils whose extraordinary school trips involved driving across Africa to the heart of the Sahara.
It was just the experience of being somewhere completely alien, like it could have been Mars. It was a life-changing experience that I'll never forget.
Horse racing is one of our most popular sports. It's worth around £1 billion to the UK economy. But behind the scenes, there's an alarming history of physical and mental suffering by jockeys trying to keep their weight down. But now science is being used to try to change the culture of the weighing room, as Judy Hobson, who once worked in the racing industry, reports.
Horse racing is part of our national culture. Millions offered in prize money, millions more watching our biggest races from around the world. But what's it like for the riders, the men and women at the very centre of the sport? It can be dangerous. Every jockey will have a list of broken bones, but most say the toughest part of the job is the relentless struggle to keep the weight off.
Keeping their weight low is an integral part of a jockey's job, because if they can't make the weight, well, they won't get the rides. And if they don't get the rides, their careers could be over.
It's a path I tried to pursue once, following in the footsteps of my dad, who was an amateur jump jockey. But what some of these riders go through to shed the pounds defies belief.
Some of the lads have been flipping, obviously bringing their food back up, drinking too much, you know.
It's not a modern problem. In 1886, Fred Archer, who'd been champion jockey 12 times, took his own life. Problems with his weight were said to have been a factor. It's a pressure which continues to affect those at the very top of the sport.
I was having hot baths and running with sweatsuits on and saunas and probably everything you shouldn't do I was probably doing.
Southwell races on a cold winter's afternoon, and the jockeys are weighing in before the first race. Each horse has to carry a certain amount of weight. Today, Paul Mulrennan is riding at 9 stone. Not easy to achieve when you're 5'7".
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when I got here, I just had one last pound left to get off, so I managed to jump in the sauna and have a shave in there, and the last pound just flew off, so I'm on the weight now.
The lighter you are, the more rides you're available for. But it's a daily struggle for any jockey.
Paul used to make weight by starving himself and brutally sweating off the last pounds. But other jockeys go further, drinking alcohol to dehydrate them, or even flipping, a term used for making yourself sick.
Keeping the weight off all year round became so hard for Paul, he almost gave up his job.
Hello, Paul, mate.
Hello, George.
How are you? Hey, you're looking good.
Yeah.
Looking sharp, mate, yeah. Feeling good?
Fit well, yeah.
Fit well?
Yeah, all good.
But everything changed when he came to John Moores University in Liverpool and met Dr. George Wilson. George is a former jockey. He now heads up the world's leading research into how riders can make weight safely.
Take you for your whole body scan now, okay?
To work out Paul's minimum weight, George uses a scanner to see how much body fat he's carrying.
And overall, you're only carrying just over 11% in total of body fat.
So, George, could Paul get down any lower than he already is?
Well, there's a leeway for a little bit of a reduction in the weight. We could probably take maybe a kilo of fat off that, but you would really be getting down to the absolute, the minimum, what we'd like. And obviously you need some fat for many, many physiological reasons. we have to, first and foremost, tell the jockeys that they have to be realistic about the types of weights that they're trying to achieve to ride at. So we offer up a individually devised diet and nutrition program and exercise program based upon the research, as opposed to the jockeys adopting these culturally driven methods, which obviously again would not be the best for your health, because to lose weight you don't have to sweat and you don't have to starve.
But sweating and starving has been part of the culture, and it can create long-term health problems. So today, George tests how quickly Paul can burn calories. This programme educates riders in having a healthy diet combined with fat-burning exercises. It's a delicate balance to keep jockeys at their minimum weight.
They can still make those racing weights now, but they are doing it by eating frequently, 6 times a day, staying hydrated. So that's the absolute crux of what we're doing here. From my own experience, obviously, starvation is not great and dehydration is not great and you feel terrible.
Funded by the Racing Foundation, this is a unique programme and it's available to every jockey.
It's got a bigger implication, Paul, because it's not just for jockeys, for anyone. I mean, it can show you can eat 6 times a day, and obviously looking at you, very little body fat. But you feel healthy?
I feel healthy, I feel good, and I'm eating more than ever, really. So
It's Don't Push It, Tony McGoy, at the 15th attempt. He wins the Grand National.
George has helped more than 300 jockeys, including the biggest names in the industry. AP McCoy has ridden more winners than anyone else, and yet he told us he regrets not having access to this research earlier in his career.
Unfortunately, I went there at the latter part of my career when I was pretty much near retirement. But I went there because I was interested. And I think, you know what, maybe I could have been so much better if I had the access to have something like this at the earlier part of my career. You know, it could have made me better. It could have made me last longer. It could have made me a much better jockey.
The average weight of a flat jockey is about the same as a 13-year-old boy. Many are 2 stone under their natural body weight, and that can cause physical problems like weak bones. But this daily battle of extreme weight loss can also cause issues with mental health. Some high-profile flat jockeys have talked of careers blighted by bulimia. Others have spoken about depression and alcoholism.
More importantly, you're doing this.
The impact of this constant, excessive weight loss on jockeys' mental health is now forming part of the research at John Moores University. AP McCoy says it causes other problems too.
The big problem for a jockey, and especially a jump jockey, is that if the brain is starved a little bit, that's when you can do the most damage, when you bang your head or when you fall, if you're dehydrated.
To keep at his minimum riding weight, Paul has to stick to the strict routine set by the team at John Moores University. It's a far cry from the old days when Paul would starve and his weight would yo-yo.
I'll be honest with you, it was just literally get the sweatsuit on, off running, and you could be dropping anything from, a good day would be 3 or 4 pounds. You'd class that as an easy day. There were some days there you'd be taking 8 or 10 pounds off. It was just crazy what we were doing, really. Your agent would ring you and say, oh, you're doing, 8, 9 or 8, 10 there in a couple of days, you've got light. So you just wouldn't eat, you just starve yourself, really. You'd go out and have, 6, 7, 8 gin and tonics and don't eat, you will be lighter in the morning. So you think, oh, that's great, I'll make the weight the next day, but then obviously it's not good for your head.
Pack lunch and drink, Scarlett. Okay.
Paul's battle with his weight didn't just affect him. Many jockeys have families. His wife Adele is a former jockey. When Paul was shedding pounds by extreme sweating and starvation, she worried about his health.
I just thought he was going to kill himself. I mean, there was days where he'd be off with the sweatsuit on, come home, the sauna would be on, he'd be in the sauna then for an hour, then into the bath, then he'd be laid out on the floor, exhausted, and to know then that's before you've even gone and done your work. And there was times when I thought he'd been drinking, because it kind of seems to affect your brain a little bit. You just go a little bit. But it wasn't, he was so dehydrated. So we did have the chat about giving up, but Paul luckily met George right at the right time and changed him round.
It's definitely added years onto my career, and I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be riding now, I don't think, if I hadn't met George down at John Moores University.
The racing industry is finally waking up to the problem. There are even dietitians at racetracks.
There are elements of bulimia and different ways of losing weight in the jockey's weight room, and that could always be the case, you know. But you're trying to educate lads to think that this is a better way of life, a healthier way of life, it's a safer way of life.
Back at Southwell races, Paul is now feeling healthy and happy and riding 100 winners a year. Because for him, this is what it's all about, the thrill of race riding.
Tomorrow I'm down at Kempton. It's an evening meeting down there, so it'll be an early start. It's a bit of a trek on the drive down there, but I've got a couple of good rides down there, so looking forward to that.
So no rest?
No rest for the wicked now, it's 24/7 this job.
At this time of the year, the snow-covered peaks of the Lake District are awe-inspiring.